Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, how are you today? I hope all of you have good conditions. Okay, before let me introduce myself. My name is Hoirun Nisa. I'm from TBI-C class 2 4th semester. Okay, here I want to explain the meaning of storyteller. How to be a good storyteller, and we'll also practice storytelling. Well, first of all, the meaning of storyteller. A storyteller is someone who tells a story in form of someone, or in Indonesia we often refer to it as a pendongeng. Being a reliable storyteller seems very challenging, but did you know that anyone can become a reliable storyteller? In storytelling or storyteller, there are several techniques that you should know to make your story interesting and make people enjoy listening to your story. Being a storyteller will bring benefits to you and many people, especially when you want people to listen to the topic you want to convey or even aspire to be a good storyteller. How to be a good storyteller? Is storytelling a talent? Of course not. This ability can continue to be honed and continue to grow if you continue to do it. Now, then I will explain how to be a good storyteller. The first is understand the story you want to tell. The first thing to do before we tell a story is to recognize the story. We have to really know the storyline, the characters, the background, the moral message, and so on. But understanding the story well, it will be easier for you to convey it. The story you like reporting from storyteller. To be a good storyteller, you can tell a story that you like. This way, you will be more enthusiastic about conveying it to others. Avoid telling a story that you don't like, so you need to think about it and not feel comfortable telling it. Stories that make you happy will arrive and can make the audience feel the happiness that you convey along with the story. Okay, the second is practice. To be a good storyteller, you have to practice this ability continuously. With practice, we can find out what still needs to be improved and improve it when telling story. We can ask friends to help us in practicing. If not, we can also use the mirror to practice on our own with the help of a mirror. We can see the way we speak and our own gestures so that we will know what we did wrong. Okay, the three is pay attention to voice, facial expressions, and gestures. In doing storytelling, there are three elements that you need to pay attention to, namely voice, facial expressions, and gestures. These three elements will greatly determine whether the story being told is alive or not. High and low voice must be considered because it can determine the atmosphere of the story. Okay, the fourth is read a lot of fairy tales. The first thing we need to do if we want to be storyteller is to read a lot of fairy tales. There are many fairy tales that we can read, ranging from classic fairy tales, folk tales, to modern fairy tales. By reading many fairy tales, we also know many stories that can be an inspiration when telling stories. The fifth is imitating voices and practicing gestures. The story we tell when we tell stories usually have several characters. The fairy tales that we bring will certainly be more interesting to hear if we change our voice according to the characters. In addition, body movements or gesture must also be considered. We can move our bodies to describe things we tell. For example, when we depict a bird in flight, we can stretch our arms and swim them up and down repeatedly. And then, for example, to describe a giant character, we can change our voice to be heard. And the last, in the end, story gives a moral message from the story so that the audience will listen and can practice it. Okay, the last one I will practice with storytelling with Islamic or religious themes with the title Prayer of Ants Asking for Rain and Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. Once upon a time, there was a great famine in Palestine previously, during the time of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. And the woman woke up with his followers and went to an open place in the desert to pray for rain to fall. Suddenly, an ant came to him and joined in prayer, raised his hand up. Oh Allah, we are only your creatures, who are very small among all. We cannot live without your grace. Please give us your sustenance and do not punish us for human sins. Please send rain so that trees can grow, the farm become green, and grain was available, and we too had food to eat. Prophet Sulaiman, who understood the language of animals, including ants, told the people around him. He asked everyone to return home because he thought the ants' prayer were enough. Not long after, it rained heavily and all the land became green. Ants are intelligent creatures. Daily he collects and stores food in the hole. We knew that during wet and cold months he couldn't go out to find out. The hole under the lawn is made very carefully and covered with silt so that rainwater does not enter. In addition, ants are creatures who like to help each other. They are happy to work together in any way. One day, when Prophet Sulaiman was traveling with humans, jinn, and birds, they reached the ant village. The head of ants saw it and warned all the ants to enter their house so as not be trampled and crushed unnoticed by the approaching humans and jinn. Prophet Sulaiman also smiled at the warning said by the head of the ant. He asked his friends to wait until the ant entered their house. None of us heard the ants while passing through their land, he said. The head of the ant also thanked for Prophet Sulaiman because the other ants could safely enter his house. Prophet Sulaiman also expressed his gratitude because some time ago the ants had prayed for rain so that they could eat. Moral message of the tale of prayer ants asked for rain and Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. From the Islamic children's fairy tale about one of the moral message that can be learned is that as Muslims we must help each other and be grateful for the blessing that have been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then children also should not look down on other people because maybe their prayers are not the most noble in the eyes of Allah. Surah. Okay, maybe it's just for me, more or less apologize. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.